Mitchel Ryan, why can't we build more refineries here to reduce the cost of oil in the United States? I know his approval rating is getting hit due to the cost of everyday goods. Could his approval jump up before the midterms? Yeah, I just wouldn't, again, I look at polls, we measure polls, but I'd be a little careful on that. When you look at the polling, polling you have to be very comparative with. And when you look at the polling, so to answer your first question, I don't know. I think we can build more refineries. I don't know what the holdup is there, but I don't think that's an issue. Again, I don't know if that's going to do anything prior to November. But I just wouldn't worry. Don't pay too much attention to a media ecology that thrives off of degrading the right and pumping up the left. I just don't pay much attention to it, because when you look at the polling of good trusted sources, like say Quantus Insights, for example, the polling among MAGA faithful are all in. They're very excited about the midterms. They can't wait. And they're ready to go. And then when you say, oh, but independents, well, it depends which independent. New Hampshire independents are not the same as Texas independents, right? Maine independents are not the same as Louisiana independents. So it's just it's this broad. It's a big country in a broad brush. Oh, Trump's poll numbers are going down. They're imploding in California. They're imploding even lower than they normally are. They're imploding in Washington. They're imploding in Chicago. They're imploding in Manhattan. Yes, but they still, from what we see, remain very strong in the Midwest and the South, in deep red country. And also keep in mind that Trump always outperforms his poll numbers, meaning that even people who disapprove of Trump still vote for him. Not all, obviously, but a lot do. So I know someone very dear to me who is 1,000% MAGA, but she hates Trump. And these tend to be women. But she really, really doesn't like Trump. She can't stand Trump. She hated UFC 250. She can't stand any of that stuff. But she will vote for him every time. She'll crawl through glass to vote for him, because she's voting for the movement. She loves the movement, and she loves JD. Interestingly, she loves JD. So there you go. So I wouldn't put too much credence in that. Harry, Dr. Steve, lots of excitement in Peru for this Tuesday when Keiko Fujimori is sworn in as their new and rightful and glorious, the return of the Fujimori dynasty to their presidency. I'm even seeing Japanese posters on X are excited as well. Latin America is becoming MAGA. It is. What is it? 7 elections? There were 7 out of 7, if I recall, in Latin America for the right winning. It's been absolutely incredible, not including Venezuela. Of course, we're taking out Venezuela. And then you have Noriega now in Nicaragua saying, we will not have any more elections in order to protect democracy, so as to keep socialism in power. He's such a pathetic dweeb. Mitchell, do you think Trump's approval rate can improve before the midterms? Yeah, I already talked about that. Terry, did the Russian Federation really, really go there by joining Iran in its present war? And if so, then did Vladimir Putin, by so acting, bring upon himself and the country the Genesis 12:3 curse? No, I don't. I don't know about your eschatology there. You have to. That's neither here nor there for me. I'm Orthodox, so I don't necessarily go that direction. But having said that, no, the Russian Federation isn't doing much. They're bogged down in Ukraine. There's not anything they can do for Iran. They know Iran's a losing battle. Texas on la shock. Just watch Larry O'Connor talking about a means dating back to Reconstruction where the House can refuse representatives they believe would work against the U.S. best interest. Can you confirm? And what would be the procedure for that? Good question. I do not know. I trust Larry O'Connor. And I have to look at that video. Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have to play hardball here. We're dealing with a group of people that literally want to destroy the country. They want to abolish the Senate. They want to abolish the presidency. They're just they're which just means they just want to turn the Speaker of the House president. Um, no, you're dealing with a group of people that hate America, hate Western civilization, hate everything about us, and they're openly trying to destroy us from within. And either we're going to take that seriously or not. Either we're going to see that as a terroristic threat or we're not. So. But I would love to. I'd have to avail myself of what Larry was talking about. Hanloff, what happens with remaining fundamentalist regime supporters if when Iran regime is replaced? Go underground and pop up in future and unpleasant ways? Great question. No, I don't think so. I think we would have to actually study that in terms of what happens with like sort of regime loyalists. But generally speaking, politics operates at a different level than normal everyday society. So normal everyday society, for lack of a better term, it is private. So I get to go to whatever supermarket I feel like going to. I get to go to the park whenever I feel like going to it. I get to go to whatever auto mechanic I feel like. That's what we refer to as sort of private, consumer-based, volitional structure of society. Government is public life. It's very, very different structure. And it operates by a very different dynamic. So I don't get to choose what government I mean, outside of voting, but I'm stuck with whatever government comes my way. I don't get to choose when I pay my taxes. I don't get to choose if I pay my taxes. I don't get to choose if I get called into court. I don't get to choose whether I want to go or not. So public life is obligatory, whereas private life deals with all kinds of options. So you're asking a question: what do you do with all of these, fundamentalist regime supporters in the private realm once their public regime has fallen or has been rendered inert? They don't necessarily translate, is what I'm trying to say. It doesn't necessarily, they could be pissed, they could be upset, that might cause some problems, but outside of an actual a full-blown insurrection, which would be Iranian civil war, and we don't have the ground troops to be concerned about to defend in the midst of insurrection. Outside of that, it really is it's really like, well, sucks to be you kind of thing. It just there's not a lot they can do. The sentiments that they have for a public institution that has imploded don't translate into a new public institution, right? It's there's more to it than that. And they're going to have to deal with regional powers. They're going to exercise much more influence in Iranian public sphere than they have in the past. It used to be Iran exercising their influence in their public spheres. Now it's going to be the other way around because they've been rendered inert. So anyway, and that's my shot at it. Vaughn, Dr. Steve, I established a $100 bet with a crew of progressive morons in another forum. The bet from me is that the entire Mosaic Mullah Mafia will be decapitated by the end of August. Do you want in? Okay. I think that's where it's going. I think you're right. I don't think that's a bad bet. I don't tend to bet. I'm not a betting man, but I think you're onto it. I do think decapitation is on the table now. It certainly is for Israel. And the Mossad has the intelligence to pull it off. We saw that on February 28th in dramatic fashion. And again, I think they've been generating intelligence all this time. And I think there's going to be another round of major decapitation for sure. There's no question. Franz, when do we get a Prometheus collaboration? Love to do it. We'll have to work it out. Just so you know, I mean, I do some collab. I don't do a lot. And Promethean ladies would be wonderful. One of the reasons is, as we've seen, how do I say this? I was about to say I don't trust a lot of channels. I guess that's a right way of saying it, but what I mean, look at the way Tucker turned, right? Or look at the way Megan turned. I'm kind of like, I don't want to be caught up in all that. I don't want to be caught up in inter-channel soap operas. I have no interest in that at all. None. I have more interest in watching a fly die than getting involved in that. That's a Don Rickles. That's a Don Rickles line. We could all just sit around and watch a fly die. So I tend not to do a lot of collabs. So if you wonder why if I haven't done it, it's not anything with them or whatever. I don't reach out to channels to do collab. We get reached out a lot, and some I say sure, and others I'm like, But anyway, yeah. If Franz, if you know how to make that happen, go right ahead. We can. It would be a very interesting discussion, I'm sure. J.P. Mangan, the Senate leader in the CVA battle, forced the Democrats to defend their positions for a record debate, but it eventually passed. Thune is too cowardly to do what's right. The SAVE Act can be done. Okay. Yeah, I'm with you. Thune deserves all the scorn in the world that he's getting. He like I said, I can't think of a more demoralizing, quote unquote, Senate Majority Leader. And he will probably lose the seat in 2028. He'll get primaried. We will John Cornyn him. We'll Liz Cheney him. And he'll lose by 30 points at this point. But his argument is there's 4 that refuse to vote with it, right? McConnell, Murkowski, Tillis, and Collins. Now, Collins has voted before for it. So this is what I mean. He can do something with Collins. He has to forget the other 3. They're morons. They're losers. Tillis is gone. Mitchell's gone. And I don't know how many of you are from Alaska, but if you can't get rid of Murkowski, there should be like I don't know if you guys have ever read the Silmarillion, but there's something called a Mandos curse. There should be a Mandos curse put on Alaska. I mean, let's get rid of Alaska and we'll take Venezuela instead. We'll exchange it. You got how you keep sending. I know she buys off some of the villages and all the pay, but how you keep sending this idiot to Senate is you should be ashamed. I mean, it's just disgusting. So anyway, he's got to get Collins, and if he can't get Collins, I think that's on him in the end.